when I first started reading this book, I mean, I hadn't read Japanese for a long time. So it did require a lot of relearning. I've got lots of notes,
Oh yeah.
scribbled, highlights, and I'm sort of still working through this. I managed to get an audiobook version as well, which really helped.
Very
But
good.
when did you first read this book and how has it impacted you?
So I read the book for the first time just past year. So that makes you, the senpai. You come
So,
to it and been referencing to it for much longer than I have. And it was an eye-opening moment because, I read other books done by the Western authors on Ikigai, but here it is. 50 or more years ago, a researcher by the name of Miyako Kamiya has written a book simply titled
mhm.
about Ikigai. And the depth and the breadth of the topic coverage was just, burn on. There's nothing else out there.
I mean, for me, reading it was a real challenge, but also all the references to other researchers or poets or artists or psychologists or psychiatrists or philosophers. I was like, how does she know all this information? Like, she must have read so much back then. Obviously, she didn't have access to something like the internet and had
I
to start
know.
looking up all these French and German and Japanese names, trying to find out who's she referring to? So,
So she must have had, right, these stack of books probably in her reach. Plus, through her connections and network, she must have had people or like library systems that she had access to that she can lay her hands on all these books and publications.
yeah,
I mean, it's I didn't count, but I mean there are literally probably hundreds of books and things that she is citing.
yeah. I was going to say her citations quite extensive, but clearly writing was something she loved. She also kept a diary and she wrote other books. But this was her first book and perhaps the most impactful. And in the conclusion of the book, Kamiya wrote that it took her around 7 years to finish the book. So do you want to touch on that?
And I can believe it too. And also she mentions that the amount of material she had written to publish this book was about twice as much
Oh,
as the book itself. So it must have been such a long, arduous, process for her to make sure that okay, which other topics she would like to highlight and maybe leave out. And so that process must have taken quite a long time.
mhm.
And she also mentioned that there was a very significant gap time
Yeah.
from the time that she had like the materials kind of put together or come together, and she had to pause for like couple of years or something. Then finally got back to it and carried it through the finish line. There must have been some other right life situations that may have been impacting, but the process I can appreciate that she's going through. And it's so clear that she's looked at, I think, each of the topics from at least two, if not three different angles,
Mm.
and probably chosen the one that that felt the best or right for her,
Yeah.
and then published it.